What's up, Dan the Man fans? Welcome back to the channel. We've now had the first two regionals of the new season, Monterrey in Mexico and Frankfurt in Germany, and they've given us our clearest picture yet of the post-Worlds meta. Today we're breaking it all down so you can head into Pittsburgh this weekend fully prepped. We'll go through the big winners, the new techs, and the real top 10 decks that you need to know right now. This will be a deep one, so grab a drink and let's dive in. Now, number 10, we're kicking off with Zoroark Trade Box. Now, Zoroark has always been a deck that rewards creativity. The ability Trade lets you cycle through cards, discarding the ones you want in the bin and drawing into the pieces you need. From there, Zora transforms into whatever attacker makes the most sense for the matchup. At Monterrey and Frankfurt, Zoroark lists included some interesting packages. Togekiss to blank Gholdengo's superior energy retrieval, Blood Moon Ogerpon to hit massive numbers, and even Cornerstone Ogerpon as a fighting type answer in the right field. This shows the flexibility of the deck. You can adjust it to beat whatever meta you expect. But here's the issue: consistency. When Zoroark sets up, it can feel unstoppable, but when it stumbles, evolving basics get pushed by Dragapult, spreads, or Gardevoir pressure, and the whole strategy collapses. That's why we saw Zora players making day 2 but failing to convert into the deep top 8 runs. If you're sleeving Zoroark for Pittsburgh, you need to know your prize maps inside and out. Against Gardevoir, you can trade efficiently with 1 prizes and hope to lock them down before they stabilise. Against Bolt, you need to be careful with your evolving basics and push your fighting answers. Against Dengo, the Togekiss package can be your only route to victory. Bottom line, Zoroark is playable, but it's risky. If you're an experienced pilot and love toolbox strategies, it could be a fun choice, but if you're chasing championship points, there are safer options. Okay guys, number 9, here we go. So next up is a fan favourite, Charizard EX paired with Pidgeot EX and sometimes Dusknoir. The concept is straightforward but powerful. Pidgeot gives you guaranteed search every turn through quick search. Whatever you need, Boss, Stadium, Rare Candy, you have it on demand. Dusknoir adds another dimension by letting you hit absurd numbers with Cursed Blast, turning games around instantly. Combine that with Charizard EX's natural power and max belt to push the damage ceiling, and you've got a deck that can KO nearly anything in the game. At Monterrey and Frankfurt, Charizard put players into top 16 and top 32, but it never closed out the event. The reason is consistency under pressure. Against Dragapult, your bench is vulnerable to spread. Against Gardevoir, your setup can be disrupted by constant pressure from 1 prizes. And against Gholdengo, if you miss your early tempo, you'll find yourself too far behind to catch up. The strength of the deck are undeniably Pidgeot. It ensures you rarely brick. Briar can swing prize races by stealing 2 cards out of nowhere, and Mist Energy can protect you from status effects or devolution strategies. But the sequencing is demanding. You need to know exactly when to focus on setting up Charizard, when to lean on Pidgeot for tempo, and when to gamble on a Dusknoir turn to blow the game wide open. If you love Zard, you can absolutely bring it to Pittsburgh and do fine. But it isn't the deck I'd call safe. You'll need both practice and a little bit of luck to survive 9 rounds of Swiss. Okay guys, deck 8 is next. So sliding in at number 8 is a deck nobody expected to see in the top 16 at Monterrey, Iron Thorns. Yes, Iron Thorns is back and it's as disruptive as ever. This deck relies on a combination of Judge, Pokemon Catcher and Crushing Hammer to break your opponent's setup. While most meta decks are running only 6 to 8 energy, Iron Thorns punishes that low count with hammer flips and forces them to stumble. Pair that with Ability Denial and Team Rocket's Watchtower to shut down search, and suddenly decks like Terabox or slower Dragapult lists start to look shaky. The appeal here is obvious. If your disruption hits, you can completely lock out an opponent. We've seen Iron Thorns force some surprise wins against greedy Dingo lists that can't recover once their energy is stripped away. But the weaknesses are equally clear. Against Gardevoir, which thrives on recursion and redundancy, your disruption just isn't enough. Against Bolt, if you miss early hammers, you'll be staring down an overwhelming board in no time. And against Dragapult, your basics are just spread fodder. So can Iron Thorns succeed in Pittsburgh? Sure, if the field is filled with Terabox and greedy Stage 2 lists, but it's not a reliable choice for a long regional run. This is a rogue pick that can either spike or flop. Play it if you enjoy disruption and want to surprise the room, but don't expect it to be the best positioned deck overall. Number 7's next. Let's do this. Now, let's talk about Terabox, one of the real surprises of the first 2 regionals. This is the definition of a sleeper deck. Hardly anyone rated it highly after Worlds, but at Monterrey and Frankfurt, it quietly converted into multiple top 8 finishes, proving it has the consistency and flexibility to keep up with the top tier. At its heart, Terabox is a toolbox deck. You're not trying to race like Bolt or build a fortress like Gardy. Instead, you rotate between efficient single prizes, backed by Noctowls, once per turn search, and pivot tools like Air Balloon and Jamming Tower. The main star is Dragapult EX with Wellspring Mask. With Torrential Pump, it deals steady damage, heals and rotates itself back into the deck, making it incredibly hard to answer efficiently. Supporting attackers include Pokemon EX for electricity coverage, Lily's Clefairy for prize manipulation with that dragon weakness, and even Blood Moon or Iron Leaves depending on the meta. The strength of Terabox lies in its prize mapping. Against Gardy, you pressure the Ralts and Curliers so their late games never comes online. Against Bolt, grass attackers punish their aggression. Against Dingo, you drag the game long and win the war of resources by outlasting their superior energy retrieval turns. Key innovations we saw at Frankfurt included a 1/1 Pidgeot EX line for extra consistency, Iron Leaves to escape Maractus traps, and different choices for the 3rd stadium slot. Some went Mesagoza for consistency, others Gravity Mountain to push Pikachu EX's numbers way down. The weakness of Terabox is time. Games go long, and if you're not efficient, you'll draw too many rounds. But if you're confident in your play and can handle the clock, Terabox is a strong, underrated choice for Pittsburgh. Number 6 is next. Let's get it online. At number 6, we've got Raging Bolt, a deck that's been a staple ever since its release. Raging Bolt's strength is speed and pressure. With Teal Dance, you accelerate energy onto your Bolt and start swinging hard from the earliest turns. Baby Bolt adds another dimension, sniping weak basics or softening up targets. Slitherwing has become the go-to fighting tech, covering weaknesses against Gholdengo and Dragapult hybrids. At Monterrey and Frankfurt, Raging Bolt was everywhere in Swiss and made top 16 in both events. But what we didn't see was a deep top 4 run. Why? Because consistency remains its Achilles heel. If you get hit with an Iono or Stamp at the wrong time, your board can collapse, and unlike Gardy or Dingo, you don't have recursion to fall back on. Still, don't underestimate this deck in the hands of a strong pilot. It can run hot and crush opponents before they stabilise. It's especially scary against Gardevoir if you manage to snipe their ults early, and it can overwhelm Charizard before Pidgeot gets going. Key cards to watch out for are Levincia, which keeps energy flowing, and Turo, which acts as a lifeline against Maractus traps. Lists that overcommit to Baby Bolt risk inconsistency, but the option is there for players who want to lean more on prize trades. If you're a Bolt player, you can absurdly bring this deck to Pittsburgh and make a deep run, but know this: you'll need clean sequencing, tight Ionia recovery, and the ability to finish games fast. Otherwise, you risk being outpaced by the more consistent Stage 2 decks. Number 5, go on then. Breaking into the top 5, we have Dragapult EX in a straight build and the new Togekiss variant. Straight Dragapult is all about tempo. You evolve quickly, use Phantom Dive to spread damage and pressure your opponent's setup before they're ready. Hilda helps smooth consistency, and Monkey Dory gives you mid-game certainty. But recently a new twist has emerged: Dragapult paired with Togekiss. By shutting down Superior Energy Retrieval and Night Stretcher, this build can completely blank Gholdengo and even cripple Dragapult mirrors that rely on recursion. It turns Dragapult from a tempo deck into a soft lock deck, capable of grinding out games that would otherwise be close. At online events and locals, this variant has been making waves, and it wouldn't surprise me to see it show up at Pittsburgh. The trade-off is space. You sacrifice some consistency for the lock, but when it works, it wins games by itself. Against Gardy, Dragapult can win by sniping early rolts and controlling their curliers with Gust. Against Bolt, you punish overcommits with Spread. Against Dengo, Togekiss builds are especially potent, and they remove your opponent's most important tools. Key choices include whether to run Rare Candy or faster Dusknoir lines, or to double down on Jamming Tower to punish air balloons. Both builds are valid, and which one you face can change the matchup dramatically. If you're confident in your Dragapult skills, this is a great pick for Pittsburgh. It's versatile, it rewards clean sequencing, and it punishes opponents who underestimate spread pressure. Okay guys, we're into the top 4, let's do this. At number 4, we've got the Joltik Hands Hybrid for Gholdengo. This deck starts explosively. Turn 1, you use Joltik's Jolting Charge to load energy onto the board. From there, your Iron Hands or Pikachu EX can swing tempo massively into your favour, stealing extra prizes or threatening big KOs. Once you're ahead, you pivot into the classic Make It Rain engine with Gholdengo EX, closing out games with huge bursts of damage. The appeal is pretty obvious though. You get the early tempo of a box deck and the inevitability of a Stage 2 closer. At Monterrey, we saw multiple Joltik hybrids crack Day 2 and even make top 8, proving the deck has got legs. But there's a cost. The early game can be fragile if you miss Joltik, and committing to Iron Hands can sometimes leave you exposed if the tempo swing fails. You also need to manage your energy carefully. Burn too much early and you Make It Rain can turn absolutely flat. Against Gardy, Joltik helps you pressure their setup, while Dengo's late game covers the mirror. Against Bolt, Iron Hands can punish overextended boards. Against Dragapult, you rely on careful prize mapping and quick transitions. This is a strong, aggressive choice for Pittsburgh. If you're comfortable piloting both an aggressive tempo deck and a Stage 2 engine, this is one of the most powerful hybrids available. Deck 3's next, let's do this. Next up, and climbing fast, is Gholdengo with Togekiss. This version plays out like straight Dengo, but you use this extra card to your superior advantage. You use Superior Energy Retrieval to flood energy and swing with Make It Rain, but the difference is Togekiss. At the right moment, Togekiss lets you manipulate prizes, catching up from behind or pushing yourself out of range in mirrors. It's a subtle but powerful tool, in the Dengo mirror. That extra prize can be the difference between losing and winning. Against Gardy, it can disrupt their careful prize maps, and against spread decks like Dragapult, it gives you another angle to close games. At Frankfurt, this version made deep top 8 runs, and I expect it to become more common at Pittsburgh. It's more consistent than the old Chansey builds, and it doesn't clog your board with dead cards. The downside, you're still vulnerable to Togedemac locks, and you still rely heavily on SER turns. But the Togekiss package adds just enough edge to make this the best Dengo variant right now. If you're a Gholdengo player, this is the list I'd recommend bringing to Pittsburgh. It's consistent, flexible, and it gives you a real edge in the mirror match. Right guys, the top 2 is here, let's go for it. So in second place we've got Dragapult paired with Dusknoir. This is the deck that reached the finals of Worlds, and it's still every bit as dangerous. The game plan is simple. Use Phantom Dive to spread damage early, then bring in Dusknoir with Curse Blast to delete key threats. You control the board, you control the tempo, and you force your opponent to play your game. At Frankfurt, Tord Retcliffe innovated with a high rare candy count, bringing Dusknoir online faster than anyone expected. Other players stuck with the more traditional double jamming tower approach, punishing air balloons and trapping opponents into awkward positions. Both versions are viable and both prove themselves at regionals. Against Gardy, you win by sniping early routes and controlling their setup. Against Bolt, you punish overextension. Against Dengo, you need to manage resources carefully, but the matchup is still very winnable with the right lines. Dragapult Dusknoir is one of the hardest decks to play optimally, but also one of the most rewarding. If you enjoy sequencing, puzzles and punishing opponents for every mistake, this is the deck for you. Well guys, it's pretty obvious what number 1 is, but we'll review it anyway. Let's go. And finally, sitting comfortably at number 1, we have Gardevoir EX. This deck needs no introduction. It's consistent, it's powerful, and it just won both Monterrey and Frankfurt on the same weekend. The innovation that pushed it over the top was simple: more psychic energy and maxed out Ancient Vessel. This made setups smoother than ever, ensuring you always had Curliers online early and multiple attackers ready for mid-game. Players like Alban Ahmed and Rune Hermans piloted nearly identical lists to their wins, proving that consistency is the name of the game. Against Dragapult, you use Monkey Dory and Darkness Energy to blunt their spread. Against Dengo, you play carefully around Tool Scrapper and pivot into efficient trades. Against Bolt, you stabilise and grind them down. The deck has no truly unwinnable matchups. It's the safest, strongest play in the format right now. If you want the highest floor and ceiling going into Pittsburgh, Gardevoir EX is the deck to play. Right guys, there's the top 10. Let's close this out. So that's the state of the meta heading into Pittsburgh. At number 1, Gardevoir is still the best deck in the format. Dragapult Dusknoir is right behind, punishing anyone who misplays. Gholdengo in its Togekiss and Joltik hybrids is flexible and powerful, and beyond that you've got solid options into Bolt, Terabox, and even some rogues like Iron Thorns and Zoroark if you want to take a risk. Which deck are you sleeving up this weekend? Drop your choice into the comments. I'd love to hear your testing stories. If this breakdown saved you some time, hit that like button, subscribe if you're new, and keep an eye out for the full October Metacast once Pittsburgh wraps up. And as always, may your opening hands be playable, and may your Neo upper energy never be prized. Alright guys, we'll see you in the next one.